The approach taken in this video is different from the four that have occurred previously. Here we move to a more observational or practical approach by trying to describe the program variables that can be used to characterize the flexible delivery approach. These might be thought about as flexibilities. Here, the approach promoted is one that sees flexible delivery as a continuum, as a set of variables that can be adopted or rejected depending upon the organisational, technological or pedagogic perspectives. The variables that are described are those of sequence, pace, location, communications means, assessment, learner support, enrolment schedule and outcomes/content. In terms of enrolment and schedule, the flexibilities that can be built into a program can be described as fixed or open. In the case of enrolment, enrolments may be fixed single, for example, an enrolment once a year at a particular time. It may be fixed periodic, for example, once a semester, once a term, or more frequently, or enrolments may be rolling. These have significant impacts on the resource requirements of a program, the sorts of interactions that will occur between students, and the sorts of resources that need to be available. They also change the role of the teacher in significant ways. The schedule may be fixed or open. That is, it may be a fixed schedule where students are expected to follow a regimented approach, or may be open, in which case the student can follow a schedule which is most suitable to the learner. This is most appropriate in some vocations where the student is trying to learn across a range of skills which are not hierarchical in nature. The outcomes and the content or sequence can be fixed or variable. In a traditional sense, outcomes are fixed. They are predetermined. The content and sequence are also fixed. In some cases, a level of customization is possible. And in very open programs, the learner is capable of selecting the outcomes and contents which they hope to achieve. This is not a characteristic of the vocational sector. Pace and location can be varied. In terms of pace, it may be fixed. This is typical in a situation where we have fixed enrolments, fixed sequence and fixed content. The pace may also be variable. This may be time limited. For example, we hope you get this work completed in 10 weeks, but the maximum time available is 6 months, or it may be completely unlimited. There are issues here for learners in terms of maintenance of motivation and in terms of their propensity to procrastination. Location can vary from campus to distance to workplace to anywhere. The means of communication might vary, as we've discussed in previous presentations, from private to public and synchronous to asynchronous, and various technologies will support a range of different approaches. The teaching approach may be typical of the transmission approach, the apprenticeship approach, a developmental approach, or a transformational approach. Each of these approaches has strengths and weaknesses, and every teacher will have a preference for a particular sort of approach. Specific outcomes will tend to prefer a certain sort of approach. Therefore, the selection may not entirely at the discretion of the teacher. Assessment may be fixed, variable, it may be supervised or unsupervised, and recognition of prior learning or recognition of current competence, which have been promoted in the vocational sector in Australia, are a feature of the assessment palette. Learner support may be face-to-face, it may be on demand, it may be virtual, or it may be an integration of those. So what has been presented in this presentation is a series of possible flexibilities that can be built into program design. What I'm promoting here is that based on a comprehensive discussion of organisation, technological and pedagogic considerations, that one is wise to deconstruct the flexible delivery approach that is likely to be used, that it is not an all or nothing discussion, that there are a set of flexibilities that can be built into the program in order to benefit both the organisation and the learner, and that these may be selected from a series of choices about the way we go about our work in terms of sequence, pace, location, communications, assessment, learner support, enrolment, schedule, and outcome or content. Some are predetermined, others are not. Each of these variables can be considered in isolation, but they are not mutually exclusive. A decision in one variable will severely impact another. In the next video in this series, we'll look at a slightly different model that considers the level of integration of technology into the program in a hierarchical sense, another set of flexibilities that might be considered.